Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're here for the first time, hi. My name is Busari, Imoleayo, and I'm a registered nurse based in Nigeria. And with me today is, please.
Hello, my name is Kiara, also known as Nurse Key. Some of you guys may already know me on this platform. I'm a registered practical nurse based in Ontario and Quebec, Canada.
Wow. So for me, this video is really a big deal because I've actually been watching Nurse Key on YouTube since 2020 when I started my YouTube channel, and now she's right here beside me like filming a video on my channel. So today we are going to be talking about steps to becoming a registered nurse in Canada. That's if you're from a different country that's obviously not Canada, you want to come in there, like you're obviously like you're probably a registered nurse, let's say in a country like Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, or any other place, China, like Korea. Yes, I love that country. South Korea. Then you want to move into Canada. We're going to be talking about the steps for you to take. So let's go. So I have questions there for Nurse Key to answer. Like she earlier said, she has been in the nursing field for 4 years now. And my first question would be, if a Nigerian, let's say someone like me that I already have my registered nursing license, I have my bachelor's degree, I want to come to Canada to work as a nurse, what would be the first thing that I have to do?
So the first thing you would have to do is go through something called the NNAS, which is the National Nursing Association, I believe. They're the ones who are going to actually look at your education, your nursing experience, the school that you went through, the courses that you took, the exams that you wrote. They're the ones who are going to do the full evaluation, and they're the ones who are going to decide whether or not they're going to give you an equivalency to the RN, to like RN in Canada, or if they want to downgrade you to RPN, or if they want to allow you to work as a nurse at all in Canada. So that's going to be the first step.
Okay, so NNAS would be similar to what we have here as NMCN, Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. That's like our council. Okay. So I hope you guys are getting the similarities. So NNAS, which you talked about, is similar to our own NMCN. So if you've gone to see the NNAS, what would be the next thing after that?
So after they give you the okay and they say, okay, we've evaluated your education is good, we want to give you the equivalency to your RN, or we want to give you else. RPN or LPN, whatever.
Sorry, what's LPN? What's RPN?
Like the abbreviation.
Yes, like the
so
full meaning.
LPN means licensed practical nurse, RPN means registered practical nurse, and in certain states in the US you'll hear LVN as well, licensed vocational nurse. They're all pretty much the same thing, except that the education in the US and Canada is a bit different, but they're all the same thing.
Okay, so when she mentions LPN and RPN, no, it's different from RN, and I think there are levels to RN. Yeah. So
in Canada there's one province that offers the associate level of nursing, which is RN. We call it RNADN, which is a 3-year program. And then you have RN-BSN, which is a 4-year program. And then your RPN program would be a 2 or a 2.5-year program.
Okay, so I think now we get the differences before we move to the second step after going to NNAS. You were saying something.
So they will decide whether or not they want to give you the equivalency, or if they want to downgrade you to an RPN level. And then once that's done, you'll then go to the board of nurses at the province that you choose that you want to stay in. So you would have to do research and decide where exactly it is in Canada that you want to live, because every province has its own board of nurses, its own jurisdiction, its own rules, its own laws, its own process, everything. So you have to decide where you want to live, and then you'll go to the board of nurses of that province, which is the equivalency of what you would call a state.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like the same way we have in Nigeria, we have 36 states. In Canada, it's provinces, not states. So it's just like you want to choose if you want to work in Lagos or Abuja or Port Harcourt or Ondo State or anywhere. So that's what she meant by province. So you get to choose, or they choose for you.
You choose where you want to live.
So I think it's better to make research
on where you want to live. Yeah.
Okay, so after choosing the province, what's the next thing?
So you choose a province, you go to the board of nurses. The board of nurses is going to ask you for your documentation from the NNAS. The NNAS will probably give you a certificate stamped saying, okay, we've evaluated the education, he or she is good to work in Canada. and then once that is done, then they will either set you up for maybe a placement test. That's a possibility. It really depends on who you fall on.
What was the placement test?
So the placement test is kind of just to gauge your nursing knowledge. So it'd probably be like a little bit like the NCLEX, but not actually like the NCLEX. It's just to see what your understanding and your level of understanding of the nursing field.
It's based on
individuals, and it's not necessarily something that everybody has to go through.
Okay.
It's just a possibility.
Okay.
But let's say you don't have to do the placement test. The next step would be to do your English test, right?
English test. So is it IELTS for Canada or something else, the English test?
No, IELTS, I believe, from what I understand, because that's a term that's used in America. It's not really something that we know in Canada, but I think the IELTS is kind of like the equivalent of the placement test.
No, the IELTS test is an English, I think, yeah.
Is it?
It's an English test exam.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So it would probably be the equivalent.
Something like IELTS, but not called
IELTS. It would just be an English placement test, just to see your understanding of English, how well you understand and how well you can respond.
So just basic
English. It won't be like them evaluating your English on like nursing terminology. It would be just basic communication English.
Okay. So now you talked about NNAS, then you talked about choosing the province, which is more like a state here. Then you said we have to go to the Board of Nursing, where they will determine if you do a placement test or not. Then from there you do the language test. So before we move to the next step, each of these steps, do you have to pay for it or it's free?
Yeah. So the price varies. For citizens and permanent residents of Canada, it's one price. For internationals, it may be another price. So to really get the accurate price, it would be best to call the NNAS and speak to them, and they will look at your individual situation and tell you how much it is that you will have to pay. You'll have to pay the NNAS for that the process. You'll have to pay for your English exam. You'll have to pay for every step.
Oh,
to be honest.
And currently, what do you think is the rate, the Canadian dollar to Naira?
I know that 100 Canadian dollars is about 35,000 Naira.
100 Canadian dollars is like 35 Naira. You do it. Nigeria. How are you? Okay, so we stopped at the language test. So is there something like a test where to check maybe what you're supposed to do as a nurse or
like your scope of practice?
Yes.
So the exam for your scope of practice would be what we call a jurisprudence exam. Because you know that the role of a nurse, even though nursing is nursing, wherever you are in the world, even in Canada, wherever you are in Canada, your role will vary from province to province. It's different. In the States, I believe it's a little bit more uniform. If you're an RN in California, your role will probably be the same as an RN in New York. It doesn't really vary too much. And it's not like the differences are massive differences, but there are still small differences. So the jurisprudence exam would be to make sure that you understand what your role is and your limitations, what you can and cannot do in the province, state that you'll be working in.
I think that's where Nigerian nurses may have issues, because the way the healthcare system here is, because we are grossly short-staffed. Sometimes you may have nurses doing things that they're ethically or normally they're not supposed to do, but it's like there's nobody else to do it, and you have to save lives of patients. And there are some hospitals where there are policies that limits what a nurse can and cannot do, and it may be different. I think that's where we would need more to do more research or probably.
So the province that most people want to live in when they come to Canada is Ontario, which happens to be the province that I currently live in.
Just tell us about Ontario.
So most people want to move to Ontario, especially because of Toronto. Toronto is like the big city in Canada. Everybody wants to go there.
Like our Lagos.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Other people kind of might want to go to Vancouver, BC, but most people want to come to Ontario. So our Board of Nurses is called the CNO, the College of Nurses of Ontario. They do a very good job at educating and like sharing information on like everything that you want to know. So if you were to just go in and type in CNO scope of practice, RPN or RN, you will see they'll show you a booklet online on Google for free.
Okay.
They'll show you a booklet, and you'll be able to read through the booklet and kind of get a better understanding of what your limitations are, what you can and can't do as either an RN or an RPN in Ontario. They do a really good job at sharing that information.
So you mean I can literally just type on my phone
CNO, scope of practice,
God, Nigeria,
or CNO jurisprudence practice exam, something like that, and it'll give you everything you want to know.
Wow, that's lovely. Like, they are making information accessible to even those that are not within that geographical location. That's so nice. So what about the NCLEX? When does it come in? Is it before or after the jurisprudence?
So the jurisprudence exam, I'm not sure, because as a person who, I'm originally from Quebec. Quebec is the province or state that I'm from. So when I was moving from Quebec into Ontario, I was already a licensed or registered practical nurse. So they just made me write the jurisprudence exam as a whole, just to make sure that I understand my scope. So it wasn't actual NCLEX questions about nursing, because they know I'm already a nurse, so I know.
Okay, so you didn't have to take the NCLEX.
I didn't have to take the NCLEX. It was just a jurisprudence exam to make sure I understand my scope. But as a foreigner coming into Canada, there is a possibility that the jurisprudence and the NCLEX might be merged into one exam, because when I wrote my board exam in the province that I'm originally from,
the board exam is the NCLEX.
Yeah, the board exam is the NCLEX. So when I wrote my board exam in Quebec, which is the equivalent to the NCLEX, but we call it something different. We call it the OIAQ or OIIAQ. It's a French abbreviation, but it's the equivalent.
Okay.
There were scope of practice questions already in that exam. So it's very possible that since you're writing the NCLEX, that the scope of practice questions will already be in the NCLEX
scope of
exam.
practice would be similar to what we have as foundation of nursing. Is it the same?
I don't think so, no.
Or ethics and jurisprudence. I'm trying to find a similar course that has something like that.
So
in Nigeria.
maybe more the ethics, but I wouldn't even say ethics.
It's like something different.
It's different. It's really just understanding what your role is. Am I allowed to do a blood draw? Am I allowed to do an NG tube? Okay. Am I allowed to do a catheterization? Okay. What am I allowed to do? If I'm not allowed to do a certain thing, who do I go to do it? Okay. That's more the jurisprudence exam.
Thank you. So once you're done with all those processes, how do we now move into Canada? Do I walk? Do I fly? Do I ride bicycle?
So getting registered in Canada is one step, but before you're even able to come to Canada to work, the most important thing is dealing with immigration, because immigration is they're the ones who will decide whether or not they will even allow you into Canada to work in the first place.
Wow.
So that is completely aside from the board of nurses, because even if you can get your license to practice, you could get your okay to practice as a nurse in Canada. But if immigration says you can't work in Canada, the fact that you're licensed, it doesn't matter. So you have to go through immigration to either get your permanent residency or to either get your work visa or work permit to be able to come in Canada and work. Once you get the okay from immigration, then your license is actually valid.
Okay, a quick question. The immigration and the NNAS stuff, can they be done online?
So the everything can be done online. The immigration stuff should be able to be done online anyway, because even for people who are living in Canada, whenever you're doing anything immigration wise, you send stuff by mail. Most of the time.
So you don't have to be there in person.
You don't have to be there in person.
Hopefully they will take that for.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only time you might have to do something is they might tell you to go to a Canadian embassy here in Nigeria. And then you'll go do your fingerprints or whatever it is that they need you to do. But you won't necessarily need to fly to Canada. You might just be able to go to a Canadian embassy here in Nigeria.
All right. Then how do you get a job? How do we apply for jobs? Is there like an agency or anything?
So once you're licensed and you have your papers saying that it's okay for you to work in Canada, you can there's a site called Indeed, which is the site that most Americans and Canadian people use to find jobs. It's called Indeed. That is where most facilities...
Indeed, like INDEED? Okay.
That's where most people go to find their jobs. So whenever you're looking for any nursing job, you'll just put in RN jobs, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, wherever it is that you want to live in Canada. The most likely, the first site that you're going to see is Indeed, and Indeed will have all the list of all the jobs and all the facilities that are looking for people who have your title, whether it's RN or RPN. Agency is an option, but if immigration says that you're allowed to work in Canada and you have your license, you don't necessarily have to work with an agency. Not everybody likes working with agency. Some people will go and get hired specifically at a facility, whether it's a retirement home, long-term care facility.
Retirement home? That's like is that the same thing as, what's it called, geriatric home?
Yes, so the geriatric home we mainly call long-term care facilities. So those are for people who are elderly but who have they need help with their activities of daily living, dressing, feeding. Whereas retirement home, those people are usually more independent. So when you go to a retirement home, you'll see that it's kind of like a hotel. They all live in their own suites, their own apartments. They have their own stove, their own fridge. The nurse is only there to respond to an emergency. So if they don't feel well, if somebody falls down or anything, then you'll be called. You'll go to their suite, you'll assess them and send them away.
Well, that's a whole lot. So let me just run down through the steps. The first thing she said was NNAS, which is like the nursing, what do you call it again?
National Nurses Association
or something like that, which can be done online. Then next you have to choose the province, which is like the state you want to work in. Then go through the board of nursing of that particular province or state. Then do your placement test, which is optional. Then through the language test, the jurisprudence test that can be merged with the NCLEX.
So it's not necessary. You might not necessarily write that exam. It might be fused with the NCLEX. So.
Then you go through immigration to be sure that you can come into work. Then you can either get the job directly
or go through an agency.
Alright guys, so I feel we all were able to pick the steps. Please, if you have questions for Nurse Key, you can leave them in the comment section. I feel you'll be available to answer in comments.
Of course.
Thank you very much. So don't forget to follow her. She also has a YouTube channel where she films about nursing and also skincare. You can see her skin. Alright guys, so thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, leave comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.